New York still calls itself the Empire State, but the name can't disguise its decline and coming fall.
Well, the impact of climate change is already very real for villagers on an island in northern Alaska. They're being forced out of their homes.
At this pivotal moment in American history, certain states are more affected than others. It's begun. The list of the 10 fastest collapsing states in the United States, 2025, highlights the regions struggling to keep up with a growing array of challenges. From environmental catastrophes and mass migration to deteriorating infrastructure and collapsing economies, these states are facing multiple crises. In this video, we'll explore what's happening, why it's occurring, and what it could mean for these states and the nation's future. Stay tuned as we examine the statistics, analyze the warning signs, and speculate on what these troubled areas might face moving forward. 1. California, the Golden State's tarnished image. California, once the epitome of opportunity and prosperity, is now grappling with challenges that threaten to tarnish its iconic status. Known for its economic success, technological innovation, and cultural influence, the state has long been seen as the Golden State that attracts dreamers from across the globe. Silicon Valley, Hollywood, and its breathtaking landscapes have cemented California as a beacon of hope. Yet in recent years, rising crime rates, an affordability crisis, homelessness, and political struggles have overshadowed its once glowing image. California's skyrocketing cost of living is one of its most pressing issues, with a median home price exceeding $700,000 and rents often surpassing $2,500 in major cities. Affordable housing is increasingly out of reach for middle and working-class families. This crisis has led to a sharp rise in homelessness, with over 170,000 individuals without stable housing. Major cities, including Los Angeles and San Francisco, are seeing growing encampments. Despite efforts to address homelessness, critics argue the state has not effectively addressed the root causes, such as unaffordable housing and inadequate mental health services. California's political climate adds complexity to the state's challenges. Progressive policies on climate change, healthcare, and criminal justice reform, while well-intentioned, have had unintended consequences. Stringent environmental regulations have raised energy costs and pressured businesses, leading some to relocate to states with more favorable conditions. High taxes have driven wealthy residents and tech executives to states like Texas and Florida, contributing to an exodus. Additionally, rising crime rates, particularly in cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco, and an increase in wildfires exacerbated by climate change, have added to the state's growing difficulties. California's challenges, economic inequality, rising crime, high taxes, homelessness, and environmental disasters are casting a shadow on its reputation. While the state remains a global leader in innovation, its ability to balance progressive values with the realities of these growing issues will determine its future. If California can adapt and address these concerns, it may restore its image as the land of opportunity. However, without significant changes, the state's golden glow may continue to fade. Is California's golden glow really fading? Once the land of opportunity and dreams, California is now grappling with rising crime, skyrocketing housing costs, and homelessness. With its future at a crossroads, what's next for this iconic state? But California isn't the only powerhouse in trouble. Which other major state is facing a similar fate? Keep watching to find out. 2. New York, the Empire State's exodus. New York, famously known as the Empire State, has long symbolized opportunity, culture, and economic strength. From the towering skyscrapers of New York City to the expansive rural landscapes upstate, the state has attracted people from all walks of life. However, in recent years, New York has experienced a growing exodus of residents. This trend, known as the Empire State Exodus, is driven by several factors, including high taxes, rising living costs, safety concerns, and political dissatisfaction. The migration is reshaping the state's demographic and economic landscape, and the long-term consequences could be severe. One of the primary reasons for this exodus is New York's high cost of living, particularly in New York City. The city is one of the most expensive places to live in the US, with astronomical housing prices. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan is well over $3,000 per month, making it difficult for middle-class families and young professionals to afford housing. While New York City offers unmatched opportunities in terms of employment, culture, and entertainment, the overwhelming cost of living is prompting many to seek more affordable alternatives elsewhere, where housing is less expensive. In addition to high housing costs, New York's hefty tax burden is another major factor driving residents away. The state has some of the highest income tax rates in the country, with New York City adding additional local taxes. This results in an effective tax rate of over 10% for many. High earners and business owners are moving to states like Florida, Texas, and Tennessee, where there is no state income tax. Rising crime rates, political dissatisfaction, and controversial policies, such as bail reform, have also contributed to the exodus, prompting many to seek safer, more affordable, and politically aligned communities. The COVID-19 pandemic further accelerated this trend, as remote work allowed many employees to leave the crowded city for less expensive and less densely populated areas. While some have returned, many have stayed in their new homes, marking a permanent shift in where people choose to live and work. This migration out of New York poses challenges for the state, potentially reducing tax revenue and placing more strain on public services. The outflow of residents could also impact key industries like finance, tech, and entertainment, as fewer people are available to fill crucial positions. Despite these challenges, New York remains a resilient state. However, the growing exodus is a reminder that policymakers must address the underlying issues driving people away. High taxes, unaffordable housing, safety concerns, and political dissatisfaction must be tackled if New York hopes to maintain its economic and cultural prominence. The future of the Empire State may depend on its ability to adapt to these changing realities and keep its residents from seeking opportunities elsewhere. As New York deals with its growing exodus, Illinois is facing its own set of struggles. Do you think it can turn things around? Or is it too far gone? Stick with us to find out what's really going on in Illinois and what the future might hold for the state. 3. Illinois. Financial struggles deepen. Illinois, the fifth largest state in the US, has long been a key player in industry, agriculture, and political influence. However, the state is now trapped in a cycle of financial troubles that seem to worsen over time. A combination of high debt, pension obligations, budget deficits, and slow economic growth has led to a fiscal crisis, affecting everything from social services to infrastructure. These financial difficulties raise serious questions about Illinois' future and its ability to address the growing challenges it faces. A major driver of Illinois' financial struggles is its mounting pension crisis. The state's pension funds are among the most underfunded in the country, with liabilities exceeding $150 billion. This enormous debt has accumulated over decades due to underfunding and overly generous pension promises made to public employees. As a result, Illinois has struggled to meet its pension obligations, leaving future payments uncertain and putting further strain on the state's budget. In 2023, Illinois' pension debt made up a large portion of its liabilities, and the state's credit rating has been downgraded multiple times due to concerns over its ability to manage this debt. The pension crisis in Illinois has had a ripple effect, consuming much of the state's budget and leaving little for critical areas like education, healthcare, and infrastructure. As a result, lawmakers have been forced to make difficult decisions, often cutting public services. Funding for schools has been inconsistent, and social programs for vulnerable populations, such as the elderly and disabled, have been reduced. This has worsened the quality of life for many residents. Additionally, chronic budget deficits, caused by high expenditures and insufficient revenue, have further complicated efforts to close the financial gap and balance the budget. Illinois' reliance on borrowing to cover budget shortfalls has exacerbated the financial crisis. The state issues bonds to meet operating costs, creating a cycle of increasing debt each year. As borrowing costs rise, the debt burden grows, limiting the state's ability to invest in long-term projects or reduce liabilities. Sluggish economic growth has worsened Illinois' financial troubles. While Chicago remains a major financial hub, many parts of the state face stagnant or declining economic activity. High taxes, tough regulations, and outmigration have slowed growth, with businesses and individuals relocating to states with more favorable conditions. As the workforce shrinks, so does the tax base, creating a vicious cycle. Additionally, political gridlock over pension reform and service cuts has eroded trust in government institutions. Efforts to address these issues require cooperation from divided lawmakers, making progress slow and recovery uncertain. 4. Michigan struggles in the Rust Belt. Michigan, once a powerhouse of American industry, has become a symbol of the struggles facing the Rust Belt. Known for its rich history in manufacturing, particularly the automotive sector, Michigan has undergone significant economic and social shifts in recent decades. The decline of traditional industries, such as automotive manufacturing, combined with issues like population loss, rising inequality, and political division, has left Michigan grappling with its changing identity. Once a symbol of industrial might, the state now faces the challenge of reinventing itself in a world driven by globalization and technological change. Michigan's most pressing challenge has been the decline of its manufacturing sector. Once the heart of global automotive production, with companies like Ford and General Motors, the state's manufacturing base has suffered. Many factories closed or moved overseas, and the 2008 financial crisis accelerated the decline, resulting in massive job losses. As a result, Michigan's economy has struggled to adapt to an increasingly technology and service-driven landscape. This shift has caused significant population loss, particularly in industrial cities like Detroit, which saw a dramatic decline in residents and faced bankruptcy in 2013, further straining local economies and services. Michigan's economic struggles have also exacerbated inequality. While areas along the I-75 corridor have seen new industries emerge, the benefits have been unevenly distributed. Wealthy suburbs have prospered, while urban centers like Detroit remain plagued by high poverty levels. The state's recovery has been slow and uneven, with many working-class families still facing limited opportunities. Politically, Michigan's divisions reflect its economic challenges. Once a reliable Democratic stronghold, the state swung to Trump in 2016, reflecting dissatisfaction with economic conditions and political leaders. The state remains deeply polarized today. While efforts to diversify Michigan's economy, such as investments in technology and renewable energy, have shown some promise, progress has been slow. The state's future depends on its ability to create new opportunities for all residents, particularly those who have been left behind. Michigan's struggles in the Rust Belt highlight the broader challenges of transitioning from a manufacturing-based economy to one that is more service-oriented and globally connected. 5. Mississippi, poverty's relentless grip. Mississippi, often called the heart of the South, is a state rich in culture and history. However, despite its charm, it consistently ranks among the poorest states in the United States. Poverty in Mississippi is deeply ingrained, shaped by systemic inequality, economic stagnation, and limited access to essential resources. Addressing this issue requires understanding its historical roots and committing to comprehensive long-term change. The economic struggles of Mississippi are largely a result of its historical dependence on agriculture, particularly cotton, which thrived under the exploitative systems of slavery and later sharecropping. While other states diversified their economies, Mississippi largely remained agricultural, limiting economic opportunities for many of its residents. Racial inequality has further perpetuated poverty. African Americans, who make up about 38% of the state's population, face poverty rates nearly twice as high as their white counterparts. Generations of discriminatory policies, from Jim Crow laws to modern-day disparities in education and healthcare, have fueled this persistent gap in economic well-being. Mississippi's economy continues to face significant challenges. The state's median household income is the lowest in the nation, hovering around $50,000, well below the national average. Many residents work in low-wage sectors, such as agriculture, retail, and service industries, where jobs often lack benefits like healthcare or retirement plans. Even when jobs are available, they rarely provide a pathway to financial stability. Around 1 in 5 Mississippians rely on federal assistance programs such as food stamps, Medicaid, or TANF. While these programs are essential, they serve more as temporary solutions to the state's deep-rooted issues. Education is widely considered a key to escaping poverty, but Mississippi's education system is underperforming. The state ranks near the bottom for test scores, graduation rates, and college readiness. Chronic underfunding, particularly in rural and predominantly black communities, leaves students with limited resources and fewer opportunities. Many graduates leave for better prospects, contributing to a brain drain that weakens the local economy. This cycle of underinvestment in education and outmigration exacerbates poverty in the state. Access to healthcare is another significant barrier. Mississippi has some of the highest rates of chronic health issues, including diabetes, hypertension, and obesity. Rural areas face limited healthcare access, and the state's refusal to expand Medicaid has left many low-income residents without coverage, further deepening economic struggles. Mississippi also leads the nation in infant mortality and ranks poorly in life expectancy, highlighting the link between poverty and poor health. Despite challenges, grassroots organizations and local leaders are working on solutions. Initiatives in early education, vocational training, and community development are making progress. Expanding broadband and implementing policy changes like Medicaid expansion, a higher minimum wage, and infrastructure investments could create jobs. Addressing systemic racism and ensuring equitable access to education and healthcare are crucial. Mississippi's resilient people, through sustained efforts, can build a more stable and equitable future. Mississippi's rich history contrasts with its persistent poverty, rooted in systemic inequality, low wages, underfunded schools, and inadequate healthcare. These challenges, shaped by a legacy of hardship, continue to impact its residents. Can this never-ending cycle be broken and a better future eventually be achieved through focused reforms and community-driven initiatives? Share your thoughts in the comments below. 6. West Virginia, the coal state's downfall. West Virginia, long known as the Coal State, has a unique place in American history. For much of the 20th century, coal was the foundation of the state's economy, fueling factories, railroads, and power plants nationwide. However, as coal's role as a dominant energy resource has diminished, West Virginia has faced economic turmoil. The state's decline highlights the risks of over-relying on one industry and the challenges of adapting to shifting energy markets. For decades, coal mining was central to West Virginia's identity and prosperity. The state's vast coal reserves made it one of the leading producers in the U.S., providing thousands of jobs and contributing significantly to the economy. Small towns centered around coal mines, and entire communities relied on mining for survival. However, with the rise of cleaner and more affordable energy sources, such as natural gas, wind, and solar, the demand for coal plummeted. Automation, environmental regulations, and international competition further hurt the coal industry, causing mines to close or coal companies to go bankrupt. As a result, communities that had thrived for generations around coal mining were left devastated. The collapse of the coal industry has led to severe economic fallout in West Virginia. Unemployment rates in coal-dependent regions are consistently higher than the national average, with former miners struggling to find new jobs. Many lack the skills needed for work in fields such as healthcare, education, and technology, which require specialized training. West Virginia also has one of the highest poverty rates in the U.S., with nearly 17% of residents living below the poverty line. Rural areas, once vibrant due to coal, now face population decline, decaying infrastructure, and underfunded public services. The environmental legacy of coal mining adds another layer of difficulty. Practices like strip mining and mountaintop removal have degraded large swathes of land, making it difficult to repurpose for development. Contaminated waterways present long-term health and environmental risks. Furthermore, coal miners and their families suffer from health problems like black lung disease, while West Virginia also has one of the highest substance overdose death rates in the country, worsened by economic hardship and limited access to mental health care. One of West Virginia's major struggles has been its slow pace in diversifying its economy. While other states have shifted away from coal with investments in renewable energy, tourism, and manufacturing, West Virginia has struggled to adapt. Efforts to attract new industries have been hampered by poor infrastructure, limited broadband access, and a workforce in need of retraining. Despite these challenges, there is hope. West Virginia's natural beauty offers opportunities for tourism, and investments in renewable energy and infrastructure could create new jobs. Vocational training and technology skill development are beginning to prepare the state's workforce for new economic opportunities. While transitioning away from coal will be difficult, West Virginia has the potential to build a more sustainable and diverse economy with the right investments and policies. The state's resilience provides hope for a brighter future as it works to overcome these challenges and redefine its economic future. Can West Virginia overcome its coal-driven past? Once thriving as the coal state, it now grapples with poverty, unemployment, and environmental damage. As the state works to reinvent itself, The question remains, can it build a sustainable and prosperous future? 7. Louisiana, disaster-stricken and mismanaged. Louisiana, celebrated for its vibrant culture, music, and cuisine, has long embodied the spirit of the American South. However, behind its charm lies a grim reality. The state has faced repeated natural disasters and chronic mismanagement that have hampered its ability to recover and thrive. From hurricanes and flooding to systemic political and economic challenges, Louisiana's struggles reveal a complex web of vulnerabilities that demand urgent action. Louisiana is one of the most disaster-prone states in the U.S., vulnerable to hurricanes, tropical storms, and rising sea levels due to its Gulf Coast location. Hurricane Katrina in 2005 caused over $125 billion in damages, and many communities still haven't recovered. Since then, storms like Hurricane Ida in 2021 left residents without power for weeks. Louisiana's low-lying terrain and wetlands make it prone to flooding and erosion, with alarming coastal land loss. Climate change has intensified these challenges, with stronger hurricanes and rising sea levels threatening to submerge parts of the state. Louisiana must address long-term vulnerabilities to reduce disaster risk. Louisiana's economic difficulties compound the effects of its frequent disasters. The state depends heavily on industries like oil and gas, shipping, and tourism, all of which are sensitive to market fluctuations and environmental risks. While oil and gas revenue contributes significantly to the state's economy, it hasn't alleviated poverty, with 19% of Louisiana residents living below the poverty line, one of the highest rates in the nation. Rural areas and minority communities, particularly African Americans, face higher rates of poverty, unemployment, and limited access to education and healthcare. These disparities are deeply rooted in the state's history of systemic racism, which continues to hinder many communities from breaking the cycle of poverty. While natural disasters are unavoidable, Louisiana's political mismanagement has exacerbated their impact. Corruption, inefficiency, and lack of planning have plagued the state for decades. The slow response after Hurricane Katrina, including inadequate evacuation plans and misallocation of recovery funds, highlighted the government's failure to prioritize vulnerable populations. The state's infrastructure, vital for disaster resilience, is in dire condition. Aging levees, crumbling roads, and inadequate drainage systems leave communities exposed to flooding. Despite receiving billions in federal aid, Louisiana has struggled to effectively use these resources to strengthen infrastructure or build resilience. Louisiana's challenges require urgent action. Prioritizing infrastructure upgrades, like modernizing levees and drainage systems, will protect communities and create jobs. Economic diversification in renewable energy, technology, and sustainable tourism offers pathways to long-term stability. Vocational training can equip residents for emerging industries. Political reforms, including increased transparency and disaster relief distribution, are essential to restore trust. Strengthening local governments and community-led initiatives will improve recovery efforts. By addressing these issues, Louisiana can rise above its challenges and secure a brighter future. 8. Oregon, a progressive state in trouble. Oregon, once a symbol of progressive values on the West Coast, has recently been grappling with challenges that threaten its ability to uphold those ideals. Known for its policies on environmental sustainability, social justice, and economic equity, Oregon has been a leader in areas like renewable energy and marijuana legalization. However, rising crime rates, housing affordability issues, homelessness, and political polarization have called into question whether its progressive policies are enough to address the state's growing problems. Oregon's affordability crisis is one of its most pressing issues. In cities like Portland, housing costs have surged, with the median home price exceeding $500,000 in 2023. Despite policies to increase housing density, these efforts have not met the growing demand. With wages failing to keep pace, many Oregonians struggle to afford rent or home ownership. This rise in housing costs has exacerbated Oregon's homelessness crisis, particularly in Portland, where over 4,000 people are estimated to be homeless. Critics argue that current measures, such as mental health services and shelters, have been ineffective, calling for more coordinated long-term solutions. Crime rates in Oregon cities, especially Portland, have also risen in recent years. Violent crime, including shootings and carjackings, has been a growing concern, with Portland experiencing its highest homicide rate in decades. The increase in crime has been linked to the defunding of police and the broader social unrest following George Floyd's death in 2020. Oregon's progressive stance on criminal justice reform, while well-intentioned, has faced mixed results, with critics arguing that it has contributed to a decline in public safety. Political polarization has deepened within Oregon, further complicating efforts to address these issues. The once unified progressive agenda is now divided, with some advocating for more progressive policies and others pushing for more moderate or conservative approaches. This division has led to gridlock in the state legislature, making it difficult to implement comprehensive solutions. Oregon's environmental policies, a source of pride for the state, are also facing new challenges. Wildfires, exacerbated by climate change, have become more frequent and destructive, raising questions about the state's preparedness for future environmental crises. Despite these struggles, Oregon remains committed to its progressive ideals. However, it's becoming clear that the state will need to balance these ideals with practical solutions to address its growing challenges. Only time will tell if Oregon can adapt its policies to meet the needs of its residents in the 21st century. 9. New Mexico, a cultural gem in crisis. New Mexico, often called the Land of Enchantment, is known for its striking landscapes, rich cultural heritage, and deep historical roots. From ancient Puebloan ruins to a blend of Native American, Hispanic, and Anglo traditions, the state presents a unique cultural tapestry. Yet, despite its beauty, New Mexico faces significant social and economic challenges. Issues such as high poverty rates, underfunded education, and inadequate healthcare access have created a crisis that threatens the well-being of its residents and its future prosperity. New Mexico consistently ranks as one of the poorest states, with 18% of its population living below the poverty line. Poverty is particularly widespread in rural and tribal areas, where stable jobs are scarce. The state's economy relies on oil, gas, agriculture, and tourism, but these sectors offer limited stability and financial mobility. With many low-wage jobs, New Mexico faces high food insecurity and housing instability, exacerbating its ongoing poverty crisis. Education plays a critical role in breaking the cycle of poverty, yet New Mexico's public education system faces dire challenges. The state consistently ranks among the lowest in national education assessments, with high dropout rates, poor test scores, and insufficient funding. This has left many students unprepared for higher education or careers. A landmark 2018 court case highlighted the state's failure to provide equitable education, particularly for Native American and Hispanic children, who make up a large portion of the population. Although the state pledged to increase educational investment and reform policies, progress has been slow and uneven. New Mexico also struggles with limited healthcare access. The state has one of the highest rates of uninsured residents, with rural areas facing severe shortages of medical professionals and facilities. This lack of access contributes to the state's high rates of chronic conditions like diabetes, obesity, and substance abuse. New Mexico has been hit hard by the substance crisis, leading to an increase in overdose deaths and further straining healthcare resources. Tribal communities face even greater challenges, with inadequate funding for Indian health services and higher rates of chronic illness. Despite challenges, New Mexico's cultural richness offers hope for revitalization. The state's arts, from Native American pottery to Hispanic folk art, continue to attract global visitors. Tourism, driven by attractions like Santa Fe, Taos, and White Sands National Park, remains a key economic engine. To overcome its crises, New Mexico must invest in education, healthcare, and economic diversification. Expanding renewable energy, improving broadband, and supporting local businesses could provide growth opportunities, allowing the state to build a brighter future for its people. 10. Alaska, a cold reality. Alaska, the northernmost state in the United States, is defined by its extreme climate, vast landscapes, and unique natural beauty. Known for its majestic mountains, glaciers, and wildlife, Alaska's cold reality is a defining feature that impacts the daily lives of its residents and shapes the state's culture and economy. From frigid winters to icy waters, the state's harsh environment offers both challenges and beauty, influencing every aspect of life there. Alaska's extreme cold is one of its defining features, especially in the interior and northern regions. Fairbanks can experience temperatures as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit below zero in winter. The harsh cold makes tasks like starting a car difficult, and homes are built with thick insulation and heating oil. Additionally, parts of Alaska experience polar nights, where the sun doesn't rise for weeks. This lack of sunlight can cause seasonal affective disorder, SAD, prompting many residents to use light therapy lamps to help combat depression during the long, dark winters. However, Alaska's cold also brings a unique beauty. The snow transforms the state's landscape into a winter wonderland, blanketing mountains and forests in white, creating an otherworldly serenity. The aurora borealis, or northern lights, provide a breathtaking natural spectacle visible in the winter skies. The state's coastline, dotted with icebergs and glaciers, offers a glimpse into the immense power of nature shaped by the cold. Alaska's cold climate is more than just a physical challenge. It also shapes the state's economy and culture. For many residents, surviving the cold is a matter of pride and resilience. The indigenous populations, including the Inuit and Athabascans, have lived in Alaska for thousands of years, developing specialized survival skills that are passed down through generations. Hunting, fishing, and gathering are not only essential for sustenance, but are key elements of cultural identity. The state's economy is also deeply intertwined with its cold environment. The oil industry, a significant contributor to Alaska's revenue, thrives in the frigid conditions. The Trans-Alaska Pipeline, which stretches over 800 miles, is engineered to withstand sub-zero temperatures while transporting oil from the North Slope to Valdez. Alaska's fishing industry, particularly for cold water species like salmon and cod, is another vital economic sector, supported by the rich, icy waters of the Bering Sea and Gulf of Alaska. Despite the economic benefits, Alaska's cold presents challenges. Extreme weather conditions can make transportation difficult, particularly in remote areas. Heavy snowstorms can close roads, and icy conditions create dangerous driving. Many rural communities are isolated, and residents may have to wait for planes or boats to bring in supplies, making access to services harder. In conclusion, Alaska's cold reality is more than just a climate. It is a defining aspect of life in the state. From its extreme winters to the economic industries dependent on the cold, Alaska's harsh environment shapes its culture, economy, and daily existence. While the cold may be difficult at times, it also contributes to the state's rugged beauty and spirit, making Alaska a place where only the most resilient thrive. And there you have it, the 10 fastest collapsing states in the United States by 2025. Are these states facing a crisis due to poor leadership and resistance to change? Will action be taken before the damage is done? And should residents start planning for their future elsewhere? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the next video on your screen to keep watching.